Epstein appears to confirm that the photograph of Virginia Roberts Giuffre with the then Prince Andrew, if you remember the famous photograph that Andrew has suggested is fabricated, with Ghislaine Maxwell in the background, Epstein appears to confirm that it's genuine in one of the emails.
Well, it's been a busy day. It's been a busy evening over in Washington. With us to break it down, US Assistant Editor for The Times, David Charter. David, good evening.
Good afternoon from Washington, D.C.
Lovely to have you with us. Let's head into those 20-odd thousand pages of documents that have been released today. Jeffrey Epstein has alleged that Donald Trump spent hours with one of his victims in previously unseen email exchanges between the sex offender and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein's estate have released, over 20,000 pages of documents to the House Oversight Committee after it was subpoenaed by representatives back in August. The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has called this a Democrat hoax.
This administration has done more than any, and it just shows how this is truly a manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party. For now, they're talking about it all of a sudden because President Trump is in the Oval Office. But when Joe Biden was sitting in there, the Democrats never brought this up. This wasn't an issue that they cared about because they actually don't care about the victims in these cases. They care about trying to score political points against President Trump, as we have, of course, seen with this government shutdown.
What is in the email exchange and what do you assert from it? Is Caroline Leavitt, is there any credit to it being called a Democrat hoax?
Well, this got very political very quickly today because 3 email exchanges were first released by the Democrats. And in it, they had this one that you reported on, that Trump spent hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with one of his victims. According to Epstein, writing to Ghislaine Maxwell, and in an email where he says, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. So what happened shortly after that was that the Republicans then released all this, more than 20,000 more, a blizzard really of all these documents that have come from the Epstein estate, loads more emails and other things. And that email was then released unredacted, and the victim's name was clearly shown as Virginia Giuffre, the woman who, the accuser of Andrew, who has never previously said anything, made any claims about Trump. In fact, has never alleged any wrongdoing by Trump before she died by suicide in April. And so the Republicans quickly said the reason the Democrats released that one email among their very selective release was to insinuate that Trump was up to no good, when it actually was, even in the terms of the email, in the allegation, he's with a woman who's never made any claim about him. So you can see how that got very political very quickly. In another one of the Democrat released emails, there's a line from Jeffrey Epstein that, of course, he knew about the girls. Now, this is about Donald Trump. And of course, Trump has strenuously denied throughout that he's had any involvement or any knowledge of Epstein's sex trafficking or abuse of underage girls. And this appears to be perhaps the most damning of the emails for Trump. Again, he's talking, I think, in that email with the journalist Michael Wolff, who's clearly friendly with Jeffrey Epstein, talking about in a separate exchange about what he could interview Trump about. And Epstein writes, this is in January 2019, so Trump's president, and Epstein writes that Trump, of course, knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Well, that fits in with the narrative of Trump not wanting to be a part of any nefarious business, of course, but then, on the other hand, shows that he perhaps had knowledge of it. So there will be takeaways for both sides from that, for both Republicans and Democrats, as you heard from Caroline Leavitt.
Yeah, I mean, it's anything else today, David, that that we need to talk about? I mean, we should point out that these emails are still being looked at, aren't they?
We are going through, of course, all these documents. They're quite hard to do general searches on, like by names or, but Josie Enzor, our chief US reporter, writes for tomorrow's paper, and I think it'll be online soon, that in another 2011 email in correspondence discussing how to respond to a newspaper inquiry, Epstein appears to confirm that the photograph of Virginia Roberts Giuffre with the then Prince Andrew, if you remember the famous photograph that Andrew has suggested is fabricated, with Ghislaine Maxwell in the background, Epstein appears to confirm that it's genuine in one of the emails. Now, she's got all the details in the story. I haven't read it in full yet because we're all going through
of course
the documents. But I know that in it, he writes that Giuffre was never 15 years old working for me. And he uses an expletive to describe some allegations about her. So I'm going to have to leave the details of it there, but all I can say is that the email appears to confirm from Jeffrey Epstein, at least in that email, that the photograph, hotly disputed photograph, was genuine.
Yes, yeah. He talks about the girl being a total liar. I'm just looking at some of the details here. Not one paper had the balls to question her credibility. There's a big exchange here. As I said, we won't go into too much detail just for fear of misrepresenting.
Oh, sorry. I've just seen the relevant line in the email. So Epstein writes, yes, she was on my plane. And yes, she had her picture taken with Andrew, as many of my employees have. So that's a relevant line.
Yeah, I've never misled you. This girl is a total liar. The authorities should check her Australian immigration form. You could talk to Dershowitz, that's his lawyer at the time. I will ask if they will cooperate. Prince people. Andrew, of course, continues to vigorously deny all accusations against him in relation to the deceased Jeffrey Epstein. And of course, Andrew has said in the past, told the now infamous Newsnight interview, said that the picture showing him with Giuffre wasn't genuine. It was a fake. So there we go. Perhaps that opens some light on that story.